All right, so we finally made it to World War One. We're in the 20th century. World War One's going to start in 1914. But know that this conflict was a long time coming, with a lot of competition between a lot of different European powers over colonies and other things going on in the continent. So you can think of the causes of World War One as MAIN, an acronym, MAIN, right? The main causes of World War One. The main causes of World War One are militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. We're going to go through each one of these causes individually, so make sure you're taking note of what each one of these terms means. So the rise of nationalism, we've talked about this quite a bit. We talked about it with the unification of Germany as well as the unification of Italy. And you should know what nationalism is. And nationalism is the deep devotion to one's country. It can unite people, but it can also separate different groups, and it can lead to persecution of minorities, either religious or ethnic minorities. And so nationalism can be a good thing, but it can also be a very negative thing as well. In the early 1900s, nationalism causes competition between powers. Germany is kind of had a power struggle with Austria-Hungary for a while. They've resolved their differences and they kind of get along. Great Britain, Russia, Italy, and France, they're all kind of battling for supremacy, not only in Europe, but around the world. So reasons for this competition is materials and markets. Remember, industrialization has come and it's in full effect. These countries want to make money. They want to sell as many manufactured goods as possible, so they want more and more markets. There's territorial disputes, specifically the area of Alsace-Lorraine, which was on the eastern side of France. The Germans or the Prussians took it away during the Franco-Prussian War, and France wants that territory back. There's fighting over the Balkans, and that's the region in southeastern Europe. And this is, we're talking about the Serbs, the Bulgarians, the Romanians. They all want independence from either the Ottoman Empire, which has slowly been fading away, or Austria-Hungary. All right, so those two countries have been kind of dominating this territory for a long time, but there's a lot of different ethnic groups there that want their own sovereignty, want their own independence. So you can take a look at this little cartoon down here and see, sometimes nationalism is not a great thing. It can lead you guys off cliffs, so be careful with that. Imperialism, huge cause of World War I, and this really is because of the tensions that were drawn up between the major powers kind of struggling or fighting for territory abroad. So there's competition for colonies in Africa and Asia specifically. Remember that the Americas have already kind of won their independence, so the European powers really don't have any influence over there. The United States is kind of the superpower over there that meddles in South America. In particular, Germany and France, remember that they're not going to get along for a long time. Once Germany beat France in the Franco-Prussian War, France and Germany have this rivalry that's going to last for quite some time. But they're fighting over Morocco, which is in northern Africa, and there's several different scuffles that almost lead to outright war between France and Germany, but fortunately it doesn't break out until a little bit later on. Austria-Hungary, that's what the AH stands for, wants the Balkans for its own, but the Russians also want to support the Balkans because the Balkans are made up of a majority of Slavic people, and that's what the Russian people are as well. And then there's definitely competition in Asia as well. You guys did the little analysis of the cartoon a couple weeks back, but definitely in China, the spheres of influence they're really battling for this different territory. And you can see here, this is Otto von Bismarck, right, carving up the cake that is Africa. Militarism is the glorification of military power. Since industrialization happened, mechanized armies and navies came into use. There's a dangerous development of the arms race. For a long time, Great Britain had been ruling the seas, and they planned to continue to do that. Once Germany got united, though, they started to challenge Great Britain for their supremacy. And so this developed into an arms race. And an arms race is the idea that, if you have 2 guns, I need to have 3. And if you have 3, I need to have 4. So It just builds up and up and up, and we'll see that again in the Cold War with nuclear weapons. Anyway, this dangerous development of the arms race, there's a belief that you need a powerful military for your country to be great. So these countries start building up standing armies, and they have these huge standing armies that are ready to fight. And when you have that kind of power, usually you're going to use it. So that's going to help lead to World War I. And then you got this huge naval battle or naval race between Germany and Great Britain. Like I said before, Great Britain had the supremacy for a long time, but Germany is going to start challenging it. This boat right here is called the Dreadnought, and this is a battleship that was built in 1906, and it kind of made all other boats obsolete. This thing was so powerful, so armored, that no other boats could really affect it. So once Great Britain built this, Germany started building their own version of the Dreadnought, and so you had this huge naval race with these armored, steam-powered ships. Then alliances. The alliances, make a small conflict into a huge war. So countries agreed to come to the aid if they're attacked. You had a couple different alliances that are formed. You have the Triple Alliance, where Germany wants to avoid a two-front war. It's formed by Kaiser Wilhelm II, and by the Triple Alliance included Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. Now this will become a theme, is that Germany, think of the location of Germany in a map. It always wants to avoid a two-front war. If it has to fight a two-front war, it has to separate its army, which is going to make it a lot weaker. And then the Triple Entente was formed because they were kind of scared of Germany's power as it rose. And on that side, you had Great Britain, France, and Russia, and then eventually Italy will actually switch sides, and then the Ottoman Empire will also join the Central Powers, which were Germany and Austria-Hungary. And then also eventually you'll have the United States that comes into play as well. The spark that started this war, so you have all this tension from the main causes, right? You have the militarism, the alliances, the imperialism, and nationalism. So things in Europe are pretty tense. The Balkans itself, this is the Balkans here, is going to be the spark that lights this, what was known as a powder keg, right? It's full of gunpowder, and so if you ignite it, it's going to blow up. So you can kind of take a look at this map here. You can see the territories that are gaining independence from the Ottoman Empire. And then as the Ottoman Empire recedes, Austria-Hungary is really trying to take over this territory. And that's really going to upset some of these people, especially the Serbians. The Serbians are going to be kind of the thorn in the side of the Austro-Hungarians. So, like I said, the Ottoman Empire is crumbling away. There's a lot of strong nationalism in the Balkans. They feel like they weren't, part of the Ottoman Empire. They're their own people. They're Slavic. They're not Austrian. They're not Magyars from Hungary. They're their own people. So, specifically, Bulgaria, Greece, Montenegro, Romania, and Serbia become independent in the 1800s, maybe the 1900s. And like I said, Serbia is a Slavic country and wants to extend its borders. There's people of Slavic descent living in all these other countries, and they kind of want to become a power in their own right. So Russia is also Slavic, and they support Serbia. Now remember that Slavic is kind of an ethnic group or type of people. It's different than the Magyars, it's different than the Austrians. Austria-Hungary, on the other hand, is very anti-Serbian expansion, right? Because it's causing problems in their own empire. If Serbia wins its independence, then what's going to hold back all these other territories from trying to fight for their own sovereignty as well? In 1908, Austria-Hungary actually annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina. If you look back at that map, here's Bosnia and Herzegovina, and they annex this, and they kind of take it back over, and they say, this Bosnia and Herzegovina is now part of Austria again. And this upsets Serbian leaders significantly because it's a majority Slavic population. So there's tension that rises between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. With this tense atmosphere, really anything could start a war. The Serbian nationalists kind of established some terrorist groups that are causing problems in Austria-Hungary. The Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who is the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, is actually shot in Sarajevo, which you can see is the capital of Bosnia-Herzegovina, by a Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip. He was a member of something called the Black Hand, which was a terrorist group at that time. Austria-Hungary kind of gives Serbia an ultimatum, which Serbia could not accept all its conditions. It said, you need to do this, this, or this, or we're going to invade. For a long time, Germany had kind of held Austria-Hungary back from doing that. But at this point, Germany said, you know what? You do what you need to do, and we're going to back you up. So this is what is considered the blank check. The Germans said, Austria-Hungary will support you, do what you need to do. So Austria-Hungary, after about 20 days, I think, after the Archduke was murdered, finally declares war on Serbia. Remember that Russia is an ally of Serbia, so Russia starts mobilizing, and at that point you have these dominoes that are falling that lead to what is known now as the Great War, or World War I.